in beautiful Des Moines, Iowa for the Freedom 2015 conference, and Adam McManus, one of the organizers. This is not only just a conference, this is also more like a rally. I mean, some of the stories I've heard, whether it be from the cake makers in Oregon, to the Benham brothers with HGTV, to Sergeant Monk's story we'll hear just a little later on in the program, I'm astounded. And I think everybody should be, not just Christians.
Right. We're getting to a place in America, Jamie, where there is a real threat to all of our freedom, to all of our liberty. I mean, what's going to happen when a homosexual couple comes to one of your viewers' churches and asks for their pastor to marry them, and the pastor says, no, it's against the Bible? Believe me, he is going to be in serious trouble. He might be fined, he might be penalized, he might be even imprisoned. Are we prepared to back our pastor? Are we prepared to even take a stand in our workplace, like some of the people you've already interviewed, like the Kleins, Philip Monk, who have spoken out for their Christian convictions and have been penalized for it?
And are we prepared, too, also to defend the homosexual couple ultimately, let's say, when their rights become violated by somebody on the outside? Because isn't the point really that if we're not vigilant, all of us, by watching out for the rights of certain groups and individuals, ultimately those people who are the persecutors are going to come after them?
I think of Dietrich Bonhoeffer and the words that he had to say about the Germans and who Hitler was targeting step by step by step: the infirm, the elderly, the mentally challenged, and ultimately the Jews in the final solution. And because people continued to remain silent, and by their silence they agreed with what Hitler was doing, ultimately there was no one left to stand up for them when the Nazis came for them. And so if we don't take a stand for our own rights, which is the most obvious thing to do, it's going to impact the whole community in a negative way.
Because ultimately there are individuals who would just as soon shut certain people up in this country, and not just Christians.
What's, I think, ironic about it is the left, the God haters, the homosexual activists, the Democrats, whatever label you might want to put on it, they talk about inclusion. They talk about diversity, and yet they're not inclusive of really anyone other than themselves. Christians are the ones that celebrate all of our rights to either believe in God or disbelieve in God. But we should have the right to speak our conscience and to act in such a way in our workplace that reflects our Christian convictions.
You know, interestingly enough, even though this is a gathering of mostly Christians, I have seen polls. One of the reasons why we're here, for instance, is because polls are showing that even members of the gay community are backing the people who didn't want to make the cakes because they didn't want to participate in a gay wedding solemnity. And generally, most Americans, when they're polled, gay, Democrat, liberal, conservatives, stand by the rights of individuals to defend their religious liberties.
When a homosexual bakery is approached to make a cake that celebrates traditional heterosexual marriage, they refuse, because now the shoe's on the other foot. But they're not penalized, they're not fined. Why would a homosexual couple anyway want a Christian baker to bake their cake who obviously disagrees with them and rejects their lifestyle choices? Ultimately, it's about trying to create a ruckus, stir up a hornet's nest, and to use the power of the government, which has become overreaching and a nanny gate, to stick in the eye of someone that you happen to disagree with.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm looking at the polls, and most Americans seem to be on a level of live and let live. I mean, they don't live certain ways that other people do. And ironically, even among states that have passed these religious freedom acts that defend, they originally, many of these laws were made to protect Muslims.
Interesting. Where we see the Supreme Court has gone astray is not just on the homosexual ruling of June 26, 2015 that gave a green light to homosexual marriage, but also they let stand in New York City a ban of the use of renting public school facilities for churches. What are they going to do? Shut it down just because they disagree with the viewpoint of the person renting it? I mean, this has become other label to put on it: communist, fascist, from the left.
It's kind of amazing that there aren't more people, even in the media, covering an event like this, because you don't have to be Christian to appreciate the desires of all Americans to be free.
Right. And I think that's what ultimately it's about liberty and about everyone's liberty. And, you know, Christians are here to say, look, if homosexuals want to get married, that's something that perhaps they want to do. We don't condone it, but you know what? They need to leave us alone.
All right. Thank you very much for joining
Thanks.
us. Appreciate it very
Appreciate
much. We'll be back.